Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about those numbers you see on the spine of pretty much every library book. You know the ones. It's a system we totally take for granted, but its invention was, and this is no exaggeration, completely revolutionary.
Okay, so I want you to picture this. You walk into a library before the 1870s. It's a mess, seriously. Books were often just put on the shelf in the order the library bought them, so a book about astronomy could be sitting right next to a cookbook. Good luck finding what you were looking for, right? It was a total nightmare. But then, one simple, really powerful idea came along and changed everything.
So, who was behind this big idea? Well, the whole thing started back in 1873 with a very organized and probably very frustrated 21-year-old librarian at Amherst College named Melvil Dewey. He was just determined to find a better way.
Dewey's brilliant idea was a concept called relative location. Now, before him, a book had a fixed spot on a shelf, like a house at a specific address. If you wanted to move things around, you basically had to remap the entire library. It was a huge pain. But with relative location, a book's address is all about what it's about. All the books on, say, geometry get to live together as neighbors, no matter when the library bought them. So simple, but so genius.
And this idea took off fast. In 1876, the very first edition came out, and it was just this tiny 44-page pamphlet. But people were desperate for a system like this. By 1885, the second edition had absolutely exploded to over 300 pages. That alone just shows you how quickly it was catching on.
So how does it actually work? Well, at the heart of the whole project was this breathtakingly ambitious idea that you could organize all of human knowledge into just 10 simple logical categories. That's it, 10.
It's this beautifully logical hierarchy. You start with 10 main classes, the 000s for general stuff, 500s for science, 900s for history, and so on. Then each of those gets split into 10 more specific divisions, and each of those divisions is split into 10 sections. And here's the real magic, the decimal point. That little dot lets the system get infinitely more specific. You can go from the huge topic of science, the 500s, to mathematics, the 510s, all the way down to 516.375 for super specific kind of geometry. It's basically endless.
It's just wild to think about. The system that would one day organize millions and millions of books all started right here, as this humble 44-page pamphlet.
But then you flash forward to 1942. As human knowledge just kept expanding, so did the system. It had ballooned to over 1,900 pages, published in 2 absolutely massive volumes. That's a real testament to how comprehensive it had become.
So King Dewey's idea clearly didn't stay in one little college library for long. Oh no, it was about to go worldwide.
And by the late 1920s, it had totally taken over. A major study found that a staggering 96% of public libraries in the US were using it. 96%. It wasn't just a standard anymore, it was the standard, no question.
And its influence spread way beyond the US. Today, it's used in over 200,000 libraries in more than 135 countries. But you know what the real game changer was, at least here in America? In 1930, the Library of Congress started printing Dewey numbers directly onto its catalog cards. That one move made it incredibly easy for any library anywhere to adopt the system.
Okay, but that brings up a really big question, doesn't it? How does a system designed for print books way back in the 1870s stay relevant in our digital, internet-driven world?
Well, it adapted. The system went digital way back in 1993. In fact, they published the final English print edition in 2011. Today, it lives on as Web Dewey, this constantly evolving online tool that gets updated all the time. That way, the system can always classify new topics as they pop up.
But here's the thing. Being created in the 19th century, well, it comes with some baggage. The system isn't just some neutral tool. It absolutely reflects the worldview and, the biases of its time. And that has led to some pretty serious and ongoing criticism.
A perfect example of this is in the 200s, the class for religion. The system gives almost the entire section, the numbers from 200 all the way to 289, to Christianity. Meanwhile, every other world religion you can think of, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, thousands of them, they all get squeezed into this tiny little slice in the 290s. That tells you a lot about the perspective of the time, doesn't it?
Now, to its credit, the system has tried to evolve, and the changing classification of homosexuality is a really powerful example. In 1932, it was classified under mental derangements. Can you believe that? Then, over the decades, as our understanding changed, it moved to abnormal psychology, and then social problems, before finally landing in sexual relations in 1996. It's a slow process for sure, but you can actually see society's views changing right there in the library code.
And the criticisms don't stop there. The 800 section for literature is overwhelmingly focused on European works, and early editions infamously put topics about women right next to etiquette. These kinds of problems have led some modern libraries to just ditch Dewey entirely and switch to systems more like what you see in a bookstore, which are designed to make browsing easier.
So this leaves us with a final thought. The Dewey Decimal System was, without a doubt, a revolutionary tool. It created order out of chaos, but its story, from its beautiful logic to its really deep flaws, forces us to ask a much bigger question. Can any single system organize all of human knowledge without reflecting the biases of its time? And, maybe more importantly, whose worldview gets to be the default?